Hello, hello. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast. Happy Football Friday, everybody. Your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast has arrived. I'm Johnny Venerable. He's Bo Brack. This is, I guess you could call it a flight plan day after post-game show, Bo Brack. And goodness, if you're on the Twitter streets today, Jonathan Gannon is on everybody's talking point in lieu with the Cardinals potentially tanking 2023. I guess where do we begin?
Yeah, let me just ask everybody to show of hands. You drive in today, or did you take the bus?
There's nothing wrong with taking the bus. I see that a lot today.
You got fire in your gut? I mean, look, God forbid, first-year head coach with like coming off the season that he had in Philadelphia and kind of flying under the radar as far as the head coaching candidates. God forbid he come in with some sort of enthusiasm. Like, people saying he's a goober and the Arizona Cardinals are doomed. It's first off, it's pretty on brand with what the national media and how they're talking about this team, this organization. And, I honestly believe that in a few years, the Arizona Cardinals are going to have the last laugh. I think that they really do have the pieces in place as far as the guys driving the train and Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon to turn this thing around.
You just, no one has any idea. Like, they want to compare it to Adam Gase, which is ridiculous. How about, does anybody remember Nick Sirianni's opening press conference? His presser with the Philadelphia media, he peed his pants. He basically wet the bed in front of everybody, and they destroyed him, right? And he's done pretty well. He went to the NFC Championship, won it last year with Jonathan Gannon, went to the Super Bowl. You have no idea. It's a coin flip, right? And I thought Gannon, his opening press conference was phenomenal. He did a tremendous job. And so, this is him with his players. And those players, say what you want, have bought in. And the guys who haven't, they're gone. What about DJ Humphries coming out and saying after the fact, this culture is changing with this dude? Like, you can tell when people are being cynical or fake or artificial. Like, it was almost like DJ Humphries and company, everybody had seen a ghost. Like, this is real now. This is real big time football compared to, Camp Country Club with Cliff Kingsbury and Vance Joseph. Like, the Cardinals are such an easy target. I am not surprised at all. This is what it is. I watch that. I make fun of everybody, and I especially make fun of opposing coaches. Had I seen that, I would not have thought anything of it. I would have been like, whatever. Like, there are clear outliers, like Adam Gase once upon a time with his crazy eyes at his press conference in Miami, right? Or like Dan Campbell talking about biting kneecaps. Do you remember Jim Tom Sula once upon a time for Jed York talking about
the hobo head coach, the guy that lived in his car?
Pick up your shoes, we're gonna those are press conferences. This is something any team as he's addressing his players. It's just, people are gonna think what they think. The only thing that's gonna matter is this guy's got to win games, and I think he's going to win games, and I think he's gonna win games this year, Bo Brack.
Yeah, that's going to be the ultimate, eye opener, right? How he's going to perform on the sidelines, how he's going to navigate week in and week out. But up until this point, I get it. Like, I'm just like you. I'm quick to point and laugh at people, but it is crazy to me to see and watching along with Hard Knocks and to watch how Robert Saleh operates in the team meeting room, and he's like, hey, what bird is not afraid to attack an American eagle? It's a crow, and we're going to be crows. Or what kind of competitor are you? Are you, it's just like, and he's reading off a teleprompter where JG goes in there and he's just kind of going off the cuff, and he's talking from, what he feels to be true. And I respect that. I think that, does it come off as corny? Does it come off as gooberish? Like, I can see how you view it like that, but at the same time, it's not trying to be too cool. It's not what the previous head coach was, where he wouldn't say anything in fear of, it coming off as, gooberish or over the top. I'd rather a guy who's trying to light a fire come in over the top and be corny or gooberish, but to, like, the reason it's great is because it's polarizing. And what does polarization do is, like, it gets the attention of everybody. And you either you like or you dislike it, but he's going to weed out the people that dislike it or who don't buy in. And that's something that you can kind of gauge. It gives you a good measuring stick on that.
Come on now. Like, what are we doing this to guys like Arthur Smith, who's going to be fired at the end of the year? No, does
Right.
anyone remember what his opening press conference was? People love that hire, right? And you say what you want about Cliff Kingsbury, like his opening comments were impressive. People were impressed by Cliff when he got here and when he arrived. He was a humble guy. It just didn't work out. He was out of his skis, right? The Cardinals are such an easy target. I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but it's true. Like, you think about this team week after week during this offseason, they're paying for the sins of what happened before them.
Yeah.
Like, Gannon and company know that. Here's another thing that everybody needs to like check themselves with regard to this franchise. I love this franchise. They did not have coaches lining up to coach this franchise this offseason. Jonathan Gannon, I think, is an A+ in terms of where the expectation was. You had a franchise quarterback coming off a torn ACL. You had all the drama of the 2022 season, right? You had an owner that's been, let's just call it volatile over the past 18 to 24 months, has not had a good run. Steve Keim and all of his issues on and off the field, personnel-wise. I mean, it's like they are lucky to get Ossenfort and Gannon. Cardinal fans know that. This show knows that. But like people making fun of him on the Twitter streets, it's just like, well, you can't have it both ways. You're making fun of the Cardinals, but you're also making fun of Jonathan Gannon. Philadelphia wanted to make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in the league and compete with his salary as a head coach in Arizona. And he said no.
Yeah.
You think the people in the NFL, coaches, executives, Benjamin Albright's come on the show and confirm this, respect Jonathan Gannon. Like, I love Twitter. It's a big part of my life, unfortunately. Like 2% of society is on Twitter. Twitter is not real in a lot of ways. What's real is, does he have the respect of his peers? And he absolutely does. He was a coveted coach. If he wasn't going to get this job, he would have gotten a different job. Maybe next offseason, but he would have gotten one.
Let's take a look at some of the Twitter street slander that was going on, because I saw this in shock to nobody. Pro Football Talk jumping up there, reposted without comment. So these are quote tweets of the Jonathan Gannon video where he's talking to his team. Bill Barnwell, quote, "I watched this and was sure that he wanted his players to drive themselves. Then I watched it again. I was sure Gannon wants his players to take the bus. Now I've watched it 8 times in a row, and I know absolutely nothing." Tom Grossi, big YouTube content creator for NFL. Never mind, they might actually go 0-17. Jason Moore of the Fantasy Footballers saying when he says, quote, "You got fire in your gut," it is the least fire in your gut line of all time. What a goober. Warren Sharp, expected the worst, but it's worse than I expected. And then actually one that's kind of funny is Ryan Dissiter. Okay, Murr, now ask them if they have fire in their gut, and it's a picture of the Impractical Jokers where they feel like he looks like one of the comedians on the show Murr, which I got a chuckle out of. But at the end of the day, like I just don't. I don't know. I don't get the joke. I'm not. Maybe I'm too close to it, but I watched that and I saw a team that was serious, listening to their coach, and was ready. It was not a rah-rah thing. It was a message to them that a lot of people it was resonating with. Like Budda Baker was dead locked in serious. James Conner was locked in. DJ Humphries were locked in. The leaders of this team, they weren't like bored by it. They weren't just being quiet because it was too over the top that they thought it was disingenuous. Like I saw that a team was just paying attention to their new leader.
I mean, it's story time real quick. I don't know if I've shared this on this program before. They had a film study in April or May, right before the draft. So it had to have been April. Kyler Murray's in there. Everybody's in there, minus Budda Baker, obviously. And Gannon and his staff, specifically Gannon, ripped everybody on tape and effort and just decision-making from last year. And guys were in there sitting back and they almost completely blindsided. And he went after Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray, after the fact, thanked Jonathan Gannon. It's like, that's exactly what we need around here. Players were stunned in disbelief of what took place. They had never been approached like that by a head coach. And again, not to belittle them, right? But just football related, this is not going to cut it with this franchise anymore. Get rid of it, right? And we get the little tea leaf nuggets about being late to a meeting, which they alluded to last night, and finding you and wearing Cardinal gear. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
They are being verbally undressed watching film because it was ass last year. It was not good enough. They were among the most embarrassing teams in franchise history. And the players that get it are still here, right? Maybe the players that didn't get it are gone, or they will be gone. But to me, it's like that's what matters. It matters now. Do they respond? They've already showed you they've responded to him. Again, I'm not dismissing these 2 preseason wins. I think they showed a lot of moxie against especially the Denver Broncos, with Sean Payton leaving his starters in the whole first half. Like that would you rather be the LA Rams right now, losing games like 40-0 in their preseason finale? You're telling me that you don't think that these players are going to respond to Jonathan Gannon and play above their talent level this year? Like, could you imagine if they beat the Commanders week 1, what the narrative will be, how quickly it could potentially turn? We won't know anything about Gannon until this season's over. But I'm going to tell you right now, they are so much better coached than they have been circa since Bruce Arians was here. It's not even comparable.
Yeah, and then we see, like, everybody forgets, like, the corny stuff that Steve Wilkes did. Like, he put a brick in each person's locker. There was literally a hurdle in the middle of the locker room that you had to avoid. You had to go around it. It's like it was chained off, and it was just like these empty kind of things that they tried to push, like, oh, it's brick by brick, and you get this, you got to get over your hurdle, and you got the 3 things that this is what we believe in. And it was all empty calories, right? There was no substance behind it. Like the previous 4 years, it was just a scheme and an offensive minded head coach that didn't have the ability to adapt or adjust. And they come in and they say, this is what we expect out of you. These are the things that we're going to build our foundation on. And then we're going to have little offshoots of that. And we're going to tell you what each one of those things mean. And like, nobody brought that. There were slogans and there was things that other coaching staffs brought to the table, but they never brought like the true substance and the ability to teach what they were preaching. And, it's really refreshing to see, like, people can poke fun of it, and that's fine. Like, people, and I brought it up, like, people were making fun of the Houston Astros a decade ago, and now they're going to reach the postseason for 8th time in 9 years, right? People were poking fun at the rebuild at the Miami Dolphins, like they weren't going to be competitive. They won 5 games, and now they haven't had a losing season since. You've got the trust the process 76ers, and they've been to the playoffs 5 straight times. Like, what they're doing is they're laying the foundation in this rebuild. And people are seeing 2 clips of Jonathan Gannon that come out, this most recent, and then, of course, him introducing himself to Rondale Moore. And sure, I can see the humor in that. But at the same time, I'm not laughing at Jonathan Gannon, the head coaching candidate, because he seems to be the right choice.
Like, and again, the Rondale one, I can get. I would laugh at that. It's funny. Yeah. It's awkward. Like, the guy just did his opening press conference. That was what it was. That was an impromptu thing. Like, I have seen, you guys let us know in the chat, like, universally 99.9% of Cardinal fans be into what he said. So I take that as everybody else. And again, I hate the us against the world mentality, but I'll use it here. Like, people dislike the Cardinals. People think the Cardinals are a joke because of how Keim and company operated, and they're taking their lumps right now. So it's just anything that comes out will be a point of contention, will be a point of laughter for the national media. And that's fine. Like, you're with Gannon every day, Bo. He does hundreds of press conferences. He is always prepared, professional, gives insightful answers. I remember we were with him in the press conference room, goodness, before maybe the red and white scrimmage. And he talked about defensive back play for like 2.5 minutes. It was the most insightful answer I had heard a head coach give in a press conference in like 10 years. So trying to write somebody off by this and not looking at the body of work. I mean, the guy had 70 sacks last year and 17 interceptions, and he lost the Super Bowl to Patrick Mahomes. Like, what are we doing here? Like, can we be real? Like, Bill Belichick, a defensive savant, got picked apart in the Super Bowl by that Philadelphia team with Nick Foles. I mean, shit happens, man. I remember when he held both the Giants and the San Francisco 49ers to 7 points, respectively, from their 2 supremely gifted offensive head coaches in Brian Daboll and Kyle Shanahan. Like, let's not facts get in the way of you having fun on Twitter. And that's all it is. It's fun. People are going to forget about it. But again, I'm so bullish on this staff, and I know we're going to talk about the staff here in a little bit, that it doesn't bother me, honestly. Like, you could see some stuff with Kingsbury in the past that was just like, God, this probably is not going to age well, especially all this stuff on Hard Knocks. Like, if this is what people are getting worked up about in 2023 with this team, like, that's fine. Let them have their own agenda.
Yeah, I mean, people can chirp all they want, and it's mostly from a place of just misinformation or just not knowing the entire story. And I mean, every year, I mean, you're gonna. We were making fun of the Seahawks at this point last year, and it's not the worst person in your fantasy dynasty league that is just selling its pieces off for not for bottom barrel return. It's there's a method to Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon's madness, right? You either what's your future with the organization beyond 2023, and are you bought into what we're telling you in team meetings and practice and film study and coming soon on the field of play? And if you don't meet all that criteria, guess what? You're not an Arizona Cardinal moving forward, and you get sent out no matter, what it looks like as far as in the national headlines and how people are going to perceive it. But they have an idea of what they want from their players, from their coaches, from, their front office and scouting departments. And if they don't meet that criteria, just go find another job.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. Like Jonathan Gannon's also this narrative that they're going to fire Jonathan Gannon after 1 year. Like they told him, yeah, come here and we're going to tank and you're going to be gone after this year.
Right.
Like, that's the most ridiculous BS I have ever heard. They were fortunate to get Jonathan Gannon. Michael Bidwell knows it. Monti Ossenfort knows it. Right. I mean, like that respectfully, we were talking about candidates that I could see that happening with, like, remember they were talking like guys like Aaron Glenn and receiver coaches, and Aaron Glenn's coordinating like the 30th ranked defense in the NFL. And it's just like, come on. They went and got the guy who led the best defense in the NFL last year, who's been in the head coaching circles and coaching cycles for 3 seasons, right? I get it. Like he is not everybody's cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that the Cardinals weren't lucky to have him. So again, it's such a moot point until they start playing games. I'll tell you right now, though, I'd rather have him over like the aforementioned Arthur Smith. There's about 10 coaches in the NFL, Brandon Staley, that are facing down the barrel of walking papers, pink slips at the end of this year. That's not going to be Jonathan Gannon.
They're facing
They've only gotten started. Right.
I mean, you think new ownership's going to put up with a midseason from Riverboat Ron Rivera, a guy who's got 3 winning seasons and 12 at the helm of an NFL organization between Carolina and Washington? Like, no, they're looking for somebody with some juice. And
Gannon has more job security than 60-70% of the coaches in the NFL right now.
No doubt about it.
Hey, so I'm glad yesterday, if you guys caught the show at the end, we had kind of teased the idea of taking the ASU spread, which was robust. And again, they may have hit it. I would have been so pissed if I would have taken it. 34 points, 31 and a half?
34 and a half.
34 and a half points last night. They were up by 14.
$250.
What?
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
It cost me $250. The ASU spread.
Dang
the ASU guys, Shane and Totri, they convinced me and Sean that it was going to be some sort of blowout. Oh, we're going to come out possessed. I believed them, and I lost big.
They're very persuasive. $250. My
Those
guy.
Criminals. They should have to reimburse you.
I agree.
Damon, you are in. This is the only place you're in safe hands, my friend, as well as our friends at BetMGM. $1,500 first bet offer. Sign up with the bonus code PHNX. All new BetMGM Sportsbook account users. It's super easy, 4 easy steps. Download the BetMGM app on your Android smart device, or go to BetMGM.com. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account. Place your first wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if it loses. Damon, if you would have done that, would have recouped in bonus bets, and it'll be available once your wager has settled. So, dabble at your own accord, but do so responsibly with our friends at BetMGM. Again, bonus code PHNX. Place your first BetMGM wager and receive up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Mr. Irresponsible Shane Diefenbach now is here to talk about more in the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-522-4700 Nevada. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., Kansas, Nevada, New York, or Ontario.
Our guy Damon Dog is down big. That means beers are on me from Four Peaks. Of course, it's always Four Peaks, the official beer partner of PHNX, or just the official beer of PHNX. Check out what's going on at Four Peaks these days. College football kicked off really last night. It's week 1. It's upon us. Go check out your Sun Devils games, Wildcats games. It's not against the law there, even though it's in Tempe. Go to Four Peaks. Enjoy some of their delicious beers that they have on tap, including the Wow Wheat, #1 wheat beer in Arizona, Kilt Lifter, their flagship. Of course, the Hazy, the Hop Knot, IPAs. If you're an IPA person, they've got more than enough for you, including the Raj. They've got their bourbon barrel where they age it in bourbon barrels. It's unbelievable. Check out for yourself, and also check out on your socials at Four Peaks Brew and at Four Peaks Pub. Get the latest on Arizona's premier craft brewery going on this fall, including that delicious pumpkin porter, which is flowing from the tap there and in your Circle K. It's got to be 21 years or older, and we also ask that you drink it responsibly, even at PHNX fantasy drafts tonight at the Venerable household.
Casa de Venerable. There may or may not be some Four Peaks available. Of course, why wouldn't there be? So I had one last night watching Flight Plan Bo, and yeah, after we got through the first 15 minutes, and it was.
Did you see your boy?
Who's my boy?
Did you see me?
I didn't see you. I'm sorry. I guess I'm conditioned when we're not working together to kind of block you out maybe a little bit. I was there too that day during the red and white scrimmage. I didn't make an appearance though.
I was just in the press conference room.
Oh.
Me and I had a double chin going on.
Oh, you didn't get the back of your head this time?
No, it was my profile.
See that? I knew it must have not have been a good look for you because it would have been all over the Twitter streets this morning, Bo Brack. But
yeah.
No, I you know what? Did HBO send you a residual check for that?
It's YouTube. So I could say I finally text my mom. She won't take my calls, and I said, "Hey, I finally made it on YouTube on a respectable show."
That's true because we were very disrespectful. Okay, let's talk about the coordinators because they highlighted them. I don't really want to talk about Jeff Rodgers riding a bike. I'm going to be real with you. I fast forwarded that part. I didn't watch any of the.
You don't like your coordinators and the exercise that they get around the team facility?
I know Jeff Rodgers can coach, but big dude on a bike screwing around in the valley, no thanks. I was looking for the goods, and I got the goods. Petzing is my fellow short king. Let's start there. This to me, it's like this is the most it's the Island of Misfit Toys cast of mischiefs coaches because I think they're perfect with each other. They're not all these macho tough guys. I think they have football intellect. They've got familiarity with young players, and Rallis and Petzing in particular are polar opposites of each other in the best possible way. He's this mad scientist, right? And then Rallis literally looks like he's on the practice squad in a hoodie. Oh no, that's actually your defensive coordinator. Super impressed with both guys. We're building these dudes up. I hope they can coach because, man, I'm having fun with them this offseason.
Yeah, it was interesting when you look at it. Which side of the football do you have more faith in? And it's not necessarily squarely on the shoulders of the coordinators. But if I asked you right now, as we week 1, the defensive side of the football with Nick Rallis, really, because I feel like when you watch games going forward, especially since Cliff was supposed to be the offensive guy. And there were so many issues operationally. And there were so many times that they shot themselves in the foot with penalties, right? Pre-snap penalties. And you saw, the screen game that was it was infamous, right? I think that just operationally, schematically, Drew Petzing is going to be, I think that he has an opportunity to kind of, I think I have more confidence despite, it's an uphill climb as far as the quarterback position. You got to have talent to that position. They're behind the 8 ball as far as bringing Dobbs in at this point before the season, even though we think that was the best choice. I just think that Petzing's group has a chance to do some things that might surprise people out of the gates.
I don't disagree with that. Rallis was more coveted around NFL circles, and I like Drew Petzing a lot. And I love the offense. I think it's about time the Cardinals ran a version of this offense and ran the football. This is not a knock on Drew Petzing, but I think you just mentioned that there's no Kyler Murray. There's no franchise quarterback right now. I mean, I love Michael Wilson. He hasn't played it down of pro football yet. I look at the defensive side of the ball. At least if I'm Nick Rallis, my head coach, a defensive savant, we've worked together for how many years in Philadelphia. I have the guy who helped call the defense in Philadelphia with me on the field, and Kazir White's here now. I think the back 7 could be really strong with Budda Baker and Jalen Thompson and Marco Wilson. They've got Kayvon Wallace, who's played. There's just more familiarity. Like, do I think they're going to set the world on fire defensively? No, but if we look back on this year, I think there'll be more quality defensive performances than people would think. And I think it's going to translate immediately. The Cardinals, Zaven Collins, if you look at NFL.com, they pick a player from every team to make a Pro Bowl this year for the first time. They pick Zaven Collins, and you might be thinking, well, it's slim pickings. There's talent there. If they get this defensive line figured out with these D tackles and they're just like serviceable with LJ Collier and company, I saw some really good things in the preseason from the defense outside of Kansas City, but that was a bunch of those guys are no longer on the team. I'm gonna go defense.
I mean, just as much as I had the quarterback issue, I think defensively up front, in the trenches, a lot of unknowns as far as that defensive line goes. And I just don't know if it's going to give Nick Rallis the shot that you want him to get because of all the great things that have been said about him and everything that we've seen from him throughout, since he's been hired to now. Very impressive, but is his personnel wise, is his defense going to have a chance, or are they going to be able to push around that defensive line and get chunk yards and really put that defense on its heels? And as far as the trenches, I think the offensive line is in a way better spot than the defensive line. And I think that gives you a chance to be successful as well, no matter, who's running at quarterback.
I think it's easier to coach defense in today's NFL than it is to find to organically craft an offense that, exceeds expectations. Look at what Steve Wilkes did last year as like the coach in waiting, not really, but the temporary coach after, they fired what's his name back to the collegiate level. Like their defense in Carolina was really strong the rest of the year. Can you name like 5 starters on Carolina's defense? I know it's not dire straits at D tackle. They've got Derek Brown there and Brian Burns, but their defense was fantastic over the second half. And, they play in the same conference, the NFC West, and, or the NFC. And I think the NFC West can take a step back this year. I think Stafford's about done. I think Geno Smith regresses. We'll see about Brock Purdy's arm. Like there are opportunities for the Cardinals defense to play above its shoulders. And that's the thing is I think there's more talent, to your point, at the end of the day, especially when Kyler Murray comes back offensively, offensive line, tight end, receivers. But I trust the folks that are running this defense because I've seen it before. And again, Philadelphia, much different personnel, but they're great. They're great teachers for a reason. Whereas, let's be real. Drew Petzing, to your point, has got to get Joshua Dobbs up and running here in 14 days. And then you got to turn around and you got to do it again against the Giants. That's going to be a tall task.
I think that they both have, as far as guys that they have experience with, in important positions on the field, and Kazir White in the middle of that defense, probably calling the defense, having the green dot, right? That's huge for Rallis. And then on the other side, you've got 2 guys that followed Petzing from Cleveland. You've got Yelda Froholt right there, the center, and then you've got Dobbs, who's going to be under center. Those are good positions to have guys that to bring along with you. And even though they're not household names, it's good for the coordinators, young unknowns, to have some really, really solid guys, veterans in those spots. So, I also from the flight plan episode, you hear Gannon talk about the stark difference between how they communicate on the headset. Like Drew Petzing is a rock star. He seems like he's dialed in. He's calm, cool, collected. And then you turn on the defensive side and there's Nick Rallis, and it's just an absolute there's a fire drill going on it, the way he kind of described it.
A lot of MFers, maybe, probably. A lot of expletives, probably. And again, that's the difference in the 2 coordinators. And I think it would be ridiculous for me to sit on this podcast and say both are head coaches in waiting. I have heard of Nick Rallis was one of the most coveted young defensive minds in recent memory, probably the past 2 or 3 years, the hiring cycle. And if you just look at who's getting hired now as head coaches, it's guys that are coming from the Shanahan tree, and that's where Petzing originated from. So there's just so much good from this coaching staff that people are just completely disregarding. There was a lot of bad last year. Cliff Kingsbury had minimal NFL contacts. Vance Joseph, I think, has maxed out his his ability to raise the ceiling at any point during his tenure now, like he is what he is. Whereas like, okay, Petzing comes from Shanahan, Rallis and Petzing and Gannon are all of the Mike Zimmer mold, right? So to me, it's like there's too much good. And then Jeff Rodgers has been retained by 3 different regimes now. That shows you how respective of special teams coach he is. So I just, they're going to win games this year. They're not supposed to. That happens in the NFL every year. Does everybody think this is not, SEC football versus, Panera Bread or the big sky in basketball? Like that's what people are treating the Cardinals like this year. It's like, yeah, they just don't have any talent. They can't compete. The talent difference between most NFL teams is marginal, is slim. The games are won with quarterback play, not making mistakes, and coaching and adjustments. How many times last year were the Cardinals probably the more talented team than the team that they played with a $250 million quarterback and Pro Bowlers at tight end and receiver, and they just got destroyed. They were embarrassed because they weren't coached well. They weren't developed. They didn't have a culture to speak of. Like this year, it's going to be the opposite. I believe they're going to play spoilers this year. And I mentioned earlier, I think Brian Daboll, what he did for that offense in the Giants year one, where everybody thought they were in over their skis and they were way better than expected. That's what I'm predicting this year with Jonathan Gannon in the defense. I think the defense, you're going to look at the end of the year and be like, they did what? How did they compete? It's a 4th place schedule. It's the NFC and it's JG. Give that to me, please.
Yeah, I liked how Petzing was communicating with Kelvin Beachum post that, that infamous first practice with the Vikings, just saying, "Hey, we got our ass kicked. We gotta continue we gotta push that message. Like nobody should be excited about how things went today." And I really appreciate that. I think that's the right way to approach it because I don't think that happened last year. I mean, it's just like it was like Cliff would be like, well, we just got to coach better. We got to play better. We got to execute better. And that's it. And then it's just gone. So I'm not just trying to be contrarian here. I like what, and I think they're in a good spot, both sides of the ball. And then that, if you're talking about who has the most talent to work with, I mean, I think Jeff Rodgers and the special teams, I'm going to spend about 15 seconds on this. He probably has the most talented unit on the Arizona Cardinals. And
I think we just lost about 30 live viewers after that comment.
Yeah. It's like your coffee story from yesterday.
Hey. I got messages, people saying that was riveting podcasting. No one cares. I get it. No one cares. I like Jeff Rodgers. He's good. You know what? I like his unit because he's got belief in our boy Greg Dortch, number 83. So
that's right.
That's good enough for me. And here's what I'll say about the offense. I think that I can't be bullish on Dobbs and then come here and say the offense is going to be shit. I don't think so. But I think that the preseason, and a lot of this was the product of who was playing quarterback, showed us that like the defense can make some adjustments and get out there. And the offense, it's literally going to be, can Joshua Dobbs keep the train on the tracks? And if he can, they're gonna be feisty and they're gonna be fun. If he can't, then it's gonna be like, when's Kyler Murray coming back? Is it week 6? Is it week 7? Let's get going, Bo.
Yeah, there's gonna be times where it's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna be a tough watch. I mean, but that's the reality, and that's how tough this game is. I mean, just look across even at the collegiate level, like how Dillingham's team came out of the gate strong, and then going up against just guys that have scholarships too, and they're going to go out there and compete. And if you give them any opportunities, they're going to take advantage of it, even at that level. And at the NFL, you make mistakes, you're going to get crushed for it. And if Cardinals can't convert on a third down, on a third and manageable, and believe me, it's going to happen. It's going to put their defense back out there that probably is gassed, and an opposing offense is going to take advantage of it, or mistakes are going to be made, and it's going to be turned into points or quick points. So, this is not going to be something that's going to go where they're just going to surprise and we're just going to say, man, can you believe we're already here? No, it's going to be like, no, this is what rebuilds are about. And there's definitely some lumps with a young coaching staff and an unproven roster. So OGs is definitely something you're going to want to have holstered throughout this season, because OGs, of course, it's for any experience you're looking for. OGs, you want it to be a part of it. They've got their multi-flavored bags now. It's the fruits, it's the creams. Figure out if you're a fruit guy or if you're a creams gal, or if you like just those mixed bags, continue to do that. Get those 100 milligram bags. We had that deal going on. I feel bad if you missed out on it, but you can continue to go out and find it at your local dispensary, the delicious and flavoring life of OGs. Go to ogsbrands.com, check out their full product line, some of the stuff they're going to launch, some of the stuff they've already got in the works. They got the sleep time gummy that's going to help put you to sleep, keep you asleep. It's that aquaberry flavor. And then, of course, our guy Sean the Paz over here, of course, PHNX D-backs, he was saying that the strawberries and cream is elite. Check that out. That's that Happy Balance gummy. There's something for everybody. Check it out, ogsbrands.com. Got to be 21 years or older. And, of course, you can find it at your local dispensary.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't know how many people are going to pick the Cardinals every week in their Survivor contest, but it's live and learn. PHNX has got one for you. It's a weekly pickaxe and survival contest for everybody to participate in. And get this, it's real money included. Head to splashsports.com/PHNX. There's a link in the description to sign up. Deposit some cash, some cheddar cheese to get started. It's just $5 to enter PHNX weekly NFL Pick X contest. First prize, $315. Hell yeah. Second place, 90. Third prize, 45. PHNX survival contest winner for the year. $450. Ever heard of it? We need some of that. I need some of that in my wallet. I'll be participating. We'll be running weekly contests all year. So keep that link below handy. Again, head to splashsports.com/PHNX to join. We'll have different contests coming out. So we're so stoked to compete with you and against you all. It's all in the name of fun, right? I might pick the Cardinals week 1. Who knows? Be sure to click on our link in the description. And of course, week 1 against the Cardinals is against those pesky Washington Commanders, or whatever the hell they're calling themselves these days. And Bo, you pointed out those old post, who the hell was their owner? Dan Snyder Commandos going commando. They're sold out week 1. How about that? Congratulations.
I don't think I tried to find out when the last time they sold out FedEx Field, which used to be one of the biggest venues in the NFL. I think it was close to 80,000 seats. And then they just started blocking off parts of the upper deck. Full disclosure, I grew up outside of DC, and there was a waiting list to get season tickets, and that quickly went away. And then they couldn't even sell out their stadium the last couple seasons. So for them to sell out, and that actually be a big thing when the Arizona Cardinals, I think, have sold out every game since they opened up. Of course, University of Phoenix Stadium, now State Farm Stadium. It's kind of interesting to hear that. But you've got FedEx Field now. They announced it is a sellout, and they'll have 68,000 people full and re-energized,
all with Sam Howell jerseys. I'm sure.
Hopefully not sewage pouring from the third deck to the second deck like it did last season.
Remember that video? Not real quick, where the fans were like leaning into the barricade and it just collapsed. Do you remember that video?
It's they've just let it go. But
yeah,
new ownership. It's not just going to be like, hey, new ownership, Magic Johnson on board, and this thing, wave the magic wand, and it's back to the glory days of the Hogettes and all that, like winning 3 Super Bowls in the late 80s and early 90s. It's gonna be a process, just like the rebuild that's going on here. But according to many of the pundits right now, and this was NFL Network, our friend over at No Context Cards posted this. Damon, if you would, show us the picks for next week's week 1. Look at that. Across the board. Daniel Jeremiah, 27-17. Colleen Wolfe saying that the Commanders are going to beat the Cardinals 21-10. Adam Rank saying Commandos 25-17. Grant 24-14. Sessler 27-14. Maurice Jones-Drew saying 20-3. Gordon saying 20-0. Nick Shook saying 22-9. Ed Holmes saying 31-6 Commanders, and Patra 21-13. Not a single one of these within one score. I mean, everybody, if you're going off these picks from NFL Network talent, you take the Commanders in the points.
I've done podcasts with Eric Edholm. That is, come on, Eric. What are we doing here? 31-6? Listen, nobody thinks the Cardinals are good. They're not favored in any games. They have the lowest win-loss over-under in about 35 years. So I'm not surprised by any of this. No one knows, though. No one has any idea. No one knows what we're going to do on either side of the ball. No one knows these players. No one knows how this coaching staff, going back to our first segment, is going to be able to operate. Here's what I do know. Ron Rivera, to your point, is about to get fired. right? He's got more on the line than anybody else. They've been touting Sam Howell. Sam Howell beats the Baltimore Ravens third stringers in a preseason game, and everybody's ready to anoint him. Hey, I bet Sam Howell doesn't look like that. Right. Let's see Sam Howell against Budda Baker week 1 and call me back. Okay, let's everybody take a beat for a second. This is such a joke. It's week 1 of the NFL season. They're going to be, in my opinion, one of the best values week 1 +7. You want to take the money line? They're over +200. I hope that number keeps going up because I'm going to take Damon's money, $250. I might put that on the Cards money line.
No, we're going to help him rebuild his stack. That's what.
Yeah, that's a better bet than ASU last night. By the way,
JG as Eagles defensive coordinator was 3-1 against Washington. They averaged under 20 points per game, just over 18 points per game, and they had one game where they had a pretty good performance. But otherwise, outside of that, they scored 17, 16 points, and 8 points respectively. Like Jonathan Gannon has faced the Commanders quite a bit. I know they've got a brand new offensive coordinator coming in, and Eric Bieniemy. They've got a second-year quarterback that played in a game last season, the regular season finale for them. So you've got some unknowns, but so do the Arizona Cardinals. So like to say, hey, this is a slam dunk victory for Washington. That's also got two as far as questionable key players on both sides of the ball, and Terry McLaurin, we'll see what his status is with the toe, and then Chase Young still isn't right on the defensive side of the football. Oh, and their offensive line stinks.
It's bad. It's real bad. I love. This is a perfect opener for the Cardinals. Absolutely perfect. It's the antithesis of last year. Patrick Mahomes at home against Cliff Kingsbury. This is it's like, how about let's give somebody Jonathan Gannon's owned as a member of the NFC East. Again. Bet all you want on the Commanders. Put all your predictions aside. This is going to be a 1-possession game in the fourth quarter. I promise everybody that it's going to be a 1-possession game.
That's a tough promise, but I mean,
stop. No.
I mean, look,
you're doing this over there.
We don't know. I mean, we saw how much of like the Arizona Cardinals that we're going to see.
I don't get any credit from you over the hot streak I'm on that I say it's a 1-possession game. You're like, I don't know about that. I literally just predicted Colt McCoy would be gone.
I think that as far as, I mean, we talk about our guy Damon Dog, and we got to lift him up in this time of need after he got some, given some bad information from our guys over PHNX Sun Devils. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do our Damon Dog like that. I mean, we got to be realistic and understand that, the NFL's tough, man. And it's a new system.
It's tough to blow people out.
It is. It absolutely is.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like with Sam Howell to blow somebody out.
Right.
Come on. Let's get with the real world here. Sam Howell, if he's winning this game, it'll be on a last-second field goal. It's not. Sam Howell threw an interception against the Ravens backups in the first quarter of the preseason game, like at home. That happened. Can we just everybody take a second? Sam Howell's got Jacoby Brissett, looking over his shoulder. It's Sam Howell. Daniel Jones in week 2 at home. This is the perfect way to open up the JG era. They're going to win one of these first 2 games. Book it. Somebody who knew something about winning in the desert. How about this? We've been tracking the top 25 athletes in the history of Arizona sports. We can debut today. Number 10. He's number 10 on the ranking, but he's number 1 in my heart, Arizona quarterbacks historically. How about Kurt Warner? 10th, Bo Brock, number 13. Things would be a little bit different if old Kurt Warner had started his career in the desert, but regardless, the closest thing thus far to this team winning a championship. How about this? In 4 seasons with the Cardinals, took them to the Super Bowl, 2008 NFC Championship game, that historic run in the postseason, which we talked about yesterday with Fitz, almost 16,000 yards passing. I mean, he's the greatest that they've had in just a small period of time. And very deserving of a top 10 finish on PHNX tracks, all-time athletes.
Yeah, it took Matt Leinart busting for him to kind of get into the lineup, and he was just a guy that was looking for a team to kick the tires on him, post Giants career, post obviously the greatest show on turf with the Rams, and where he came out of nowhere. It's an incredible story, and for the Arizona Cardinals to be a part of that with Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, and completely put Arizona football on the map, and it took far too long to do so. And it took a guy like him and his passing efficiency and his ability to kind of stretch the ball and push the ball down the field with those really, really talented receivers, and Fitz and Erquan Bolden and Steve Breston, all of them went over 1,000 yards receiving, and the Super Bowl run, and then back to the playoffs, and you take on the Saints, and then it's over, right? Next thing you know, he's retired, and the Arizona Cardinals were scrambling to kind of keep that momentum going, and they couldn't, because it's tough to replace a guy like Warner. He's not just somebody that you just find the next guy in the next draft, or you go and you trade 2 second-rounders and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie for Kevin Cobb, and you got your replacement there. I mean, Kurt Warner is not easy to replace, and he's that's why he's in the top 10.
People want to complain about off seasons, and I get it. The worst off season of my adult lifetime was that off season, because not only did Kurt retire, they traded away Anquan. Carlos Dansby left as a free agent. I mean, it was an absolute slaughter, and they thought, Derek Anderson will be all right. Early Doucette will be okay. Joey Porter, I mean, that started some dark days until BA got here. And a constant of Kurt Warner's success and Bruce Arians was number 11, old Larry Fitzgerald, Larry Legend. Where does Larry Legend come? Top 25 athletes, PHNX ranks. How about number 2? I think it's a little divisive. I would put him ahead of Randy Johnson. I know Randy Johnson has the championship. Randy Johnson played for other teams. Fitz is the epitome of Arizona sports, and I'm putting him 1 on my list. Number 2 is not bad though, Bo Brock.
Absolutely. I mean, what he was able to accomplish on the field it equals what Randy Johnson did. Obviously, Randy Johnson didn't have to deal with the defense breaking down. Larry Fitzgerald left the field after scoring the go-ahead touchdown in the Super Bowl. His team was leading, and then they couldn't hold on to it. Randy Johnson had the benefit of closing the door or putting the D-backs in a position to win and walk off the World Series in Game 7. This is like really relative. Like we're talking about 2 unbelievable athletes, and we're honored to have been able to watch him. But Larry Fitzgerald, what he did on the field, and the ham sandwich platter of quarterbacks that he had to deal with, sprinkle in Carson Palmer and Kurt Warner, but between that, you had like a John Navarre, you had a Max Hall, you had some brutal quarterbacks, and then to put up, statistically, he was like the second best wide receiver in most major receiving categories in NFL history, which is unbelievable. And then what he does that transcends the playing field, what he does within the community, endeared himself that I don't think, RJ's been here, right? But do you hear about his first down fund? Did he eulogize a state senator and a presidential candidate and John McCain after he passed away? I don't think so. I mean, Larry Fitzgerald he's kind of the face of Arizona sports. It's him, it's Jerry Colangelo, and obviously bulldogging out there like Randy Johnson. He did it on the field, no doubt about it. But Larry Fitzgerald is like the guy.
Randy played 8 seasons in his career here. That's not even half his career. I mean, I know baseball's longer. 22 seasons he had was remarkable.
He left twice.
Right,
twice.
I mean, he left twice.
He got traded to the Yankees. He won his 300th game as a Giant. It's super weird.
I mean, Larry was here for the entirety of his career. Had opportunities. Could have pulled a Patrick Peterson, said, "Get me the hell out of here. I want to go play." That we heard rumors that Belichick wanted Larry Fitzgerald every offseason.
Remember the picture? Remember the picture of him at like the Hertz rent-a-car in like Boston, and people are like, "Oh, something's happening."
It's happening. I mean, he was the epitome of a pro, as you mentioned. You said it beautifully, like perfect. Perfect in everything you want to represent this city, this franchise. He's number 2. He's number 1 on this show, though. All right, we put some lists together. He's number 1. You guys are number 1.
2 ones make 2.
Yes,
there we go.
I like that. I would be shocked if our friends at FOCO haven't churned out some Larry Fitzgerald goodies in their time. FOCO, the leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise, with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, love my toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. And as baseball season comes to a close, load up straw hats, polos, bags, whatever you need. FOCO has your back. And check them out at FOCO.com. And we're going to hook you up. Use that bonus code PHNX for all non-presale items. That promo code is going to get you 10% off. Check them out. It's where I got this Watt bobblehead and more. FOCO.com.
Also, check out GoPHNX.com. I think our sale is lasting for the next couple hours. You can still get T-shirts at the PHNXLocker.com. Countdown to kickoff continues. All shirts and hats, $24. Get this PHNX football t-shirt I've got. It's on there on the right. You got the Slim Valley Reaper t-shirt. You got the PHNX logo. You can get any of our great gear just for $24 at phnxlocker.com, but also become a diehard. We had an influx of diehards. We're excited to have everybody on board. You missed out on the deal. I apologize, but it's still some perks to join the crew and become a PHNX diehard today. You get early access to everything. You get access to the entire site, including the exclusive member Discord. Find out what Johnny and I are talking about when we're not on air. The conversation continues. Don't miss out on any of that. Become a diehard today. Get everything Cardinals that you want, or as a Valley sports fan, anything you want from all our great talent that we, I hear, are adding to today that you're going to have to check out and tune into PHNX Suns later about.
Ooh, it's a phenomenal week to be a Cardinal fan. It's a phenomenal week to be a PHNX Cardinal fan. And it's the last week before game week. Game week begins next week. This is our last show of the weekend ahead of Labor Day, Bo Brack, and then we kick it into high gear. Going to be hanging myself, you, our guy BG, with our friends at BetMGM next football Sunday. And I want to encourage everybody to come out. It's about to get real. If it hasn't felt real, it's about to get real because real games are starting. And in the meantime, everybody here needs to go to their smartphone, mobile device, what have you, and subscribe to the PHNX Cardinals podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that follow button, automatic downloads. Bo and I are known to churn out some audio-only goodies. We are coming off our biggest month, as Bo mentioned, and it's a big thank you to all of you. Bo, it's been a nice offseason. Let's play some football.
Let's do it. Let's fire it up come Tuesday. Everybody have a great and safe Labor Day weekend, and we'll talk to you Tuesday. Of course, you got to follow on social at PHNX_Cardinals because we will have sights and sounds from Monday's practice. No show Monday. We're back live Tuesday, 4:30. See you then.